Hey everyone, welcome back to Self-Serving Skillet. This month, all October, we are challenging ourselves to eat on $5 a day. We took $155, $5 for every day in October, went to several different grocery stores and did one grocery haul for the entire month. More on that later. Today, we're doing chicken breast. We bought 2 whole chickens and butchered them down into their 8 parts. We came away with 8 of everything because that's how a chicken works. Four of everything because there's 2 things per chicken. Anyway, we had 4 breasts. Now, the first thing that I want to do is to make some chicken fajitas. And for this, I have all of those cherry tomatoes, and I'm gonna use a lot of them. I'm going to cut them in half and then cut them in half again, and I'm gonna call that good. This is gonna be sort of a chunky pico de gallo. So I already have these tomatoes, and that's good. We've made a pico on the show before, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but this one was done with cherry tomatoes, so I sliced them a little more chunky. This is going to be a little more chunky pico de gallo. Also, all I had was lemon instead of lime. It's acid. Get it in there. It's going to be delicious. And while we're waiting for all of those ingredients to marry, we can get started on the fajita part of the fajita. All right, so I'm going to take another whole onion. We're going to do about 1.5 onions worth of slices in this. And I want these pretty thin, and I'm going to put them in a bowl and set them aside. And then we're going to use some of these frozen bell peppers, the bell peppers that we processed and froze right away after we shopped. I'm gonna get a couple of those out of the freezer. I'm gonna fill a bowl to the same level as my onions, and then it's time for chicken. So I have 4 breasts. I don't personally have 4 breasts, but I have 4 chicken breasts in my fridge, and chicken breasts have a superpower. It's called the tender. If you butcher the chicken yourself, if you split it into its 8 pieces, it depends how closely you cut it to the rib, but you can flip it over and rip out the middle of the chicken breast, and that's called the chicken tender. We're gonna do that for all of them and set them aside. We'll use them later, and I want for these 1.5 breasts. Now, what's special about that? Nothing except that I'm reserving some chicken for later dishes that we're gonna use. I'm gonna try to get 3 servings out of this. And I want these cut pretty small. I want these cut maybe in bite-sized pieces. Now, I've been accused of having a very large bite size, so adjust as necessary. I don't see it as a problem. You're gonna get a pan over high heat and get a high heat oil. Make sure it says high heat, refined for high heat on the label, and get it shimmering. And once it is, we're going to go in with our onions and just start sauteing. Now, if you can't get that jump in there, don't worry about it. Get a wooden spoon, get something like that. Move those onions around for about 4 minutes, and once they look like they've wilted a little bit, I'm gonna go in with the bell peppers. We're going to incorporate those together and get them sort of coated in oil. Once you can poke a bell pepper and it's no longer frozen, a minute or 2, I'm gonna go in with just a little bit of cumin seeds, and I'm gonna clear a space in the middle. I'm going to put those cumin seeds directly on the pan, and this is a process called blooming. When you do it dry, that's toasting. When you do it with oil, that's called blooming, and it just brings out a lot of flavor in that cumin. I have the high heat going, so this is not gonna take very long. You can feel free to turn it down to a medium high and move these cumin seeds around. Now, can you use ground cumin? Yes, you're just going to season at that point, mix it in and move on to the next step, which is when this smells amazing, when the cumin smells really good, you're gonna add your chicken. Now, these are bite size. Okay, this is not going to take the 5 to 6 minutes per side of gentle but direct heat that a whole chicken breast would. We're going to get this in the pan, and when one side is opaque, we're going to stir this around and do that maybe 4 times. You really want to pay attention to everything. Make sure everything's getting worked. And this probably took about 4 minutes until it looked like this. And now I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of this lemon that I have left over so I can deglaze the pan. And I'm mostly just cleaning it here, but there's a little flavor that I'm gonna pick up as well. Don't forget to salt to taste. And that's what we're going to do here. So let's build one of these, right? I have my tortilla, but if you don't have tortillas, you can definitely make them. We did include a bag of flour in our grocery haul, and I think pretty soon I'll make a tortilla video. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. So before we put it all in a tortilla, let's just, all right, that's good. I like that. Ooh, that jalapeno is real good. And then this guy, I did add a little salt at the pan, but now do I add the rest of the lemon to the pico or to the chicken? I think I add it to the pico because it'll keep marinating in there, and then it gives me options. Mix, mix, mix. All right, so we don't need salt and pepper. That's fine. I'm just gonna go in with a little of this pico, right? And a little of my chicken, onions, peppers. I don't have a salsa because it's gone by now, and more wasn't in the budget, but that's why I made the pico. Oh man, all right. That's pretty nice. Lots of really nice, fresh flavors in there. It's hot enough, it's spicy enough, because we didn't add anything spicy over here. This is very savory with that cumin, which is just kind of a back note here. If the jalapeno is like the main drum beat, this is the cumin is just like a tss, tss. You know, it's amazing that each of these are salted to the level I'd like if I were to eat them by themselves. But just adding the tortilla, which has no or minimal salt in it, I'm losing some ingredients. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of salt in that guy here and do a little mix. Second meal for the week, I'm gonna make 3 servings of this as well, and we're going to start off with some potatoes. Now I have Yukon Gold because they're a very intermediate potato between starchy and waxy. If you're only gonna get one potato that is all right at doing both things, I would call it Yukon Gold. For this application, if you're gonna get potatoes specifically to do this, I would get russets. So what we're going to do here is take our potatoes and chop off both ends so that we have a flat surface to stand them up on. And then we want to create cylinders. We want to do a combination of shaving off the skin and making these semi-uniform. I'm not too into wasting food, so some of mine appear a little more round than some of the internet's most prominent fondant potatoes. And if you're concerned about wasting this much potato, you can always chop them finer and get them into something like a ham and potato soup. Then I am going to cut them into medallions, into very thick medallions. We're talking about an inch, inch and a half, 3, 4, 5 centimeters. And I thought I could get away with using little guys and big guys, but they ended up being different widths, different size medallions. So sort of halfway through in the pan, I decided to do them in separate cast irons so that I could either put the small one in later or pull it sooner, or a combination of both. You're gonna wanna get these down in some high heat oil. Again, high heat oil for, I don't know, the 5 minutes or so got me a nicely browned potato. If your potato is not as brown as you'd like it, remember it's gonna cook a little bit more. You're gonna add about 10 to 15% more brownness in the oven, but also you can put that sucker right back down on the pan and it'll brown some more. Make sure to turn the ones on the edges so that one quadrant doesn't get more done than another. And when they're nicely browned, we're gonna turn them over, and I'm gonna get some butter into that oil. And then I have a rosemary plant sitting on my windowsill. Oh man. I have a rosemary plant sitting on my windowsill. So aromatic herbs never hurt in a butter. So I just cut off a bunch of rosemary and got it into the butter. Started painting that butter on the top of those fondant potatoes. And I'm gonna leave it in there for the rest of the cooking process. Now, while you're doing that, you wanna watch the foam on the butter, watch it to turn brown, because when the foam turns brown, you want to go in with about 1/3 to 1/2 cup of chicken stock. Make sure to turn your heat off before you put the stock in. And my stock is homemade. It has a lot of gelatin in it, so it's going to sort of slop into the pan and sit there while it melts. So I'm just gonna move these potatoes around to get the butter and the stock all together before I get this into the oven. It's gonna go into a 425 Fahrenheit oven. We are going to figure out what that is in Celsius and throw it right up there on the screen. That's going in for about 30 minutes, but make sure to use your eyes and your nose. And I don't think you should grab this. So while that's going, we can work on our chicken. Now, I have an entire chicken breast series that I'm going to link at the end of this video, so I don't need to go too in depth about it, but to keep my portions, to keep with having chicken every day of the week, I'm gonna cut these breasts in half. So it's important to note that I have one skinny part and two more thick chickens. So I'm gonna keep my eye on this skinny chicken. It's gonna go in the pan last, and it's gonna come out first. And I probably pulled it about 2 minutes before I pulled the others. And then I'm going to make a pan sauce for this chicken, or at least attempt to. Now, there's a lot of pan sauces in that chicken breast series. So the important thing to note here is that I broke the sauce. I broke the pan sauce, and that's not the end of the world. You could either go in and try to fix it with some sort of emulsifier, or you can do what I did and just use it as a cooking liquid now for the broccoli. Now, this is the frozen broccoli, the broccoli that we froze at the beginning of this month. Now, off camera, I separated the large from the small florets because the large are going to cook for longer, and I can add the small in just at the end. If you're ever running out of liquid in that pan, just splash in a little chicken stock. Everything comes out, a little bit of that rosemary butter sauce over the fondant potatoes, a little bit of the liquid left in the pan over the chicken. Let's check this out. Oh man, these fondant potatoes are just like butter. Oh, look at that. That is very nice. Okay. And the potatoes just absorb all that liquid. It tastes like chicken stock, which is amazing. I don't even want to eat the rest of this meal. I just want to eat these potatoes. This is like, I might be able to go without the chicken because this tastes like chicken. And then the seared part really just has a nice different texture that's amazing. It tastes faintly of rosemary. It's just kind of the back note that's like I was talking about. Let's check out this chicken, right? Because it is really good and juicy. The sauce wasn't quite thick enough to cover it, but I can taste the flavors on the bottom because it all kind of sank to the bottom. Broccoli. The stock and the butter kind of live in the head of the broccoli, right there in the floret of the broccoli, so it holds on to all that flavor. This is really nice. I really appreciate this meal. It's a little more elevated than what we've been doing, and it's nice to know that for $5 a day, if we're on a budget, we can have something like this. Could just be a potato piggy though. And I forgot about the teas, the fruit teas that we got to make a soda base, right? A little seltzer water into these fruit teas. I think this one is blueberry. That's really good. I liked the peach a little bit better, but it works like a 15-cent kind of weird soda. I'm into it. Now, I mentioned my grocery haul before. Some of you may know what that was. It is the extra content for this month for paid members of the channel, both on Patreon and on YouTube members. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I got accused of hiding useless content behind a paywall. I'm not hiding anything. This is just an opportunity for the people who want to support the show to support the show, and in return, I have extra content. It's not even necessarily a secret, right? I'm not trying to sell a course. I'm offering more stuff in exchange for helping me keep the lights on. So if you'd like to support the show, I either have a link to Patreon in the description below, or you can click on the YouTube membership for this channel. At any level, you're gonna get all of this content ad-free, and at the $10 a month level, that's when the bonus content starts. You might have also noticed that there was no ad break in this video. That was your ad. You watch free content, you gotta watch ads, you gotta listen to ads. That was your ad. So you're welcome, or I'm sorry, depending on where you fall on that scale. Let's talk about these chicken fingers. So this is going to be my sort of gratuitous meal, my really sort of splurgy sort of thing. So I'm going to make some oven fries with these chicken fingers. I'm gonna go with 2 Yukon Gold potatoes, and I'm gonna cut them into sort of steak fry shapes. I like to try to get 3 out of every quarter potato. And then into a pot of boiling water, I'm going to put about 2 little spoons of baking soda. That makes the water very alkaline, and it beats up the outside of this potato makes it very rough, and that allows it to get very crispy in the oven. I was probably boiling these for about 8-9 minutes. Honestly, it changes every time. It changes with the potato, and not only the type of potato, but where I get that potato from. I've noticed some changes. So you got to keep your eye on it. But when you can sort of smash it lightly with a pair of tongs, I've noticed that that's sort of the sweet spot when you get a little bit of potato creeping up over that pair of tongs. So drain the water and get that onto a parchment lined baking sheet. Now you're gonna want your high heat oil again, and I'm just gonna drizzle the whole pan with this high heat oil. Oven on 425 Fahrenheit. We're figuring the Celsius out for you, and we're gonna check these every 15 to 20 minutes. And when they come out that first time, I'm gonna shake the pan. If they're solid enough, I'm going to flip them. If they're not, just jiggle them around a little bit. When they're solid enough to flip, you can flip them. And I'm gonna do this about 3 times, all right? And the first time I'm leaving them in for 20 minutes, and the second time maybe 15, and the third I'm going to check them at around 10. Now the middle time, you're probably gonna see some that are overly done already. That's fine, just take those out. They're good now, they're a snack now. Put the rest in and wait until they get nice and crispy. And when they come out, we can get them in a bowl and toss them. I like salt, garlic, and smoked paprika, which is also the spice blend that I'm going to put into my flour for this 3-stage battering station. Now I took all of the chicken fingers and I also sliced one of the breasts in sort of chicken finger shape. And I'm going to go wet hands, dry hand. Wet hand picks up the chicken, drops it in the flour. Dry hand dredges it in the flour, drops it in the egg. Wet hand gets it all eggy, drops it in the panko, which also has the same spice blend as the flour, but I like a little something green in there, so I added marjoram. Marjoram or marjoram is an Italian spice. It's similar to a basil. It has that sort of sweet taste, but it's not quite as pungent. Then I'm gonna rinse and repeat until I have all of this chicken coated. Now, I do think that deep frying at home is both dangerous and wasteful, but you know what's less dangerous and kind of the opposite of wasteful, because we already have it? I'm going to shallow fry these in our rosemary butter that we did those fondant potatoes in. Just gonna heat the oil back up to about a medium high, and when I'm satisfied, first I'm gonna go in with everything that's actually a chicken tender, and those are going to cook pretty fast. When I flip this first one over here, that's at about 90 seconds, and part of that color is due to the brown butter being in that that butter, oil, rosemary, potato mixture. The potatoes did have some sear on them as well, so part of that color is there, but the chicken tenders don't take that long to cook at a high heat. 90 seconds per side. The chicken breast took a little bit longer, maybe 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 15 seconds per side, but we still got this really nice golden color. And the whole process of battering and shallow frying both sets took me maybe 12 minutes. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. Let's check it out, because these potatoes, which I've done on the show before, have been sitting out for, it's taken me about 20 minutes to get to this point here, and like, listen to the crunch. Still crispy, still warm. Absolutely delicious. All right, chicken tenders. I think I said everything already. It could, I could have made a dip, but I really think that the seasoning I put into the flour and into the panko is enough. And that butter. Oh man, that's so good. The butteriness on that panko. Oh man, it's really special. So that was a chicken tender. This is part of a breast. Let's just see how this is different. If I could do it again, I would totally do it the same way because there kind of wasn't enough chicken tender to make a full meal, but I definitely prefer the chicken tender because it's a little bit thinner, and because of that, you get like a higher crunch to meat ratio, but it's still all really good. Guys, get in the kitchen and make yourself something amazing. Everything that I've referenced throughout the whole show will be in these boxes over here that will show up right after the bloopers. I'm doing this at like 8 a.m. Because yesterday was a disaster. Mix, 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 mix. Off camera, I separated the large from the small fronds, pieces, bouquets, heads. What do you call a thing of broccoli? Stalks? That butter like got in that chicken.